Hello, Terry. How are you doing today? I love your
Hi.
Christmas lights.
Well, thank you. I've got them up for a reason. It's kind of early.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
nice.
But first, let's introduce yourselves. Welcome to Queer Chat,
Brian.
and I'm Terry. And yes, the holidays are coming.
Yes,
And,
yes. The
and
first one is less than a week away.
yes, so I thought it'd be good for us to talk for just a couple of minutes um, about what it's like to deal with being with family or extended family when one is LGBTQ and is, in whatever setting, if we are out, if we're
Yeah,
not out, if we're accepted,
yeah.
all of that. Now, did
You
you
know,
do something? You wrote something. Do you remember some of what you said before?
I wasn't able to locate the blog that I had posted. I think it's funny because on one level, just anything that is different, anything that's different from sort of how your family operates, even from like year to year. If you get a new tattoo, if you change your hairstyle, if you have a
Yes.
new partner, maybe that's not what is expected, in that particular family environment. Holidays can be challenging, and I think a lot of times we have this romantic notion of what a holiday should be about, and it's like family come together and everybody's giving thanks and everybody's happy. But then so often everybody's coming together and it's just sort of this perfect crucible of everyone's stress. Um, because so much works, these
Mhm.
people are rushing to get there. This person was rushing to get the dish together. This person's worried about going shopping the next day. So there's all kind of angst that always comes in on holiday times. And I think as someone who's LGBTQ,
Mhm.
that is not, when now, if you had your chosen family, yeah, maybe you could have a great Friendsgiving kind of thing that a lot of people do. But if we're talking about Thanksgiving with family, then, a lot of times you're going to have to navigate being who you are in a setting where people should love you, but may push back on certain aspects of your identity.
Yeah, and a couple of thoughts. One is your point about if you're with your family of choice. Why don't we try to do that in a whole separate
Okay. Yeah, sure.
uh, episode? Because I think there's some stuff there. But
Yeah.
but you make a great point that I mean, there's several points in what you said. One is that everybody is wrapped up in themselves. And so whatever they say or do, it quite often is not about us. And they may
That's
say
so funny.
something about us, but it's not about us.
Yeah, I had that whole conversation with my husband LJ this week, talking about, this happens, and we always want to think that the way everybody is acting is about us, something we've done, how they think about us, and then really, in actuality, it's all about them. It's something that they're dealing with, and we may
Yeah.
happen to get in the line of fire and just take it. But for the most part, if someone treats you poorly or someone treats you great, a lot of times it's more about them than it is about you. And I'm the worst at not taking things personally. I've got several awards for taking things personally. Uh,
Right. Well, yeah. And so we shouldn't have to wear a flak jacket to
right?
go home for the holidays, but sometimes we feel like we do.
Yeah.
Um, you know, being able to separate ourselves out. So one is realizing that people are in their own world. And then the second, consequently, whatever they say or do is not about us, it's about what's going on in their world quite
Right.
often.
Right.
And then what you bring up in that third idea, I guess, is the being able to detach and separate ourselves. It can be hard because we're with our family 365 days a year, whether we're physically with them or not, they're in our head.
Yeah.
And that may be the only time we see them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can, and of course, if somebody is not out, it can feel strange. Um,
Yeah. Let's that made me think so. We spent a lot of time coming out with this our coming out model, our emergent self model. I was just sort of thinking
right.
about if people are thinking about sort of coming out and making big announcements around the holiday times, I would probably say that's not the best
Oh,
approach
wow.
necessarily.
I don't know. I came out to my sons when they were home for Christmas and New
Okay.
Year,
Yeah.
and because that's when they were there,
Yeah. Okay.
and all three were there. So I came out to each of them individually, um, and it worked okay. But yeah, your point's well taken. It could be like you drop this bombshell and the whole family
Yeah.
explodes or implodes or explodes
Yeah.
one
I
way
was
or
just saying,
another.
like, basically,
Um, yeah. So
don't do it right after grace is said at the Thanksgiving dinner table.
right. No, my technique is to say, when you're saying grace, say, God, I thank you that I am the only queer person in the family, and that they will now in moments get to meet my husband. Amen. And that's probably not the way to do it.
That'd definitely be a dramatic way. Did you tell your sons like I mean they just happened to be home. You didn't tell them like in a very like on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve
No,
or specifically it
no.
was
In
just
fact, my youngest son, I happened to have a little time with alone first. We'd gone to the grocery store. So I
Mhm.
sat in the parking lot for a minute and talked to him.
Okay.
My middle son, I talked to him somewhere around the house. And
Yeah.
my oldest son was watching football, and that was a bad time to talk.
Uh,
But he said, yeah, whatever. I'm watching a ball game.
well, there you
It
go.
was a non-issue.
Mm,
Yeah, but so there can be a lot of stress, for example, if sometimes we don't just come out, and so there may be some family members that know and
mm,
some who don't. And we're afraid of losing control of our coming out because if
right.
so and so tells so and so,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
yeah, sometimes we have, a lot of families have that person that's the gossip,
Gossip.
you tell them and the whole world knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I this will be the first year that the three of us, I guess, will be going over to my brother's house for Thanksgiving. I
Okay.
just have one brother, but his wife has two siblings, and so it's like her family and then my family. So it'll I everybody knows. I'm pretty sure like his like my brother's sister-in-law cuts my hair, so I mean she knows. So I mean I think everybody knows, and I don't think anybody will say anything about anything. It'll just be the first time. And so even just the fact that it's the first time, even though I don't think there'll be any issues, is a little bit, you just worry about something being awkward and you don't want to be I don't want to be the person that somehow, affects people's Thanksgiving, whatever. But,
Right. Right.
again, that's probably just me thinking that, that I matter, that it really matters to them. Like my brother and his family and all the nieces and nephew know, and they've been around the three of us enough. So,
Right.
I think also one thing I found is how like when a kid falls and they look to see the parent's reaction, and if the parents freak
Yes.
out and run over, the kid will start screaming. If the parents are like, get up, and they start laughing, the kid will laugh and just be like nothing happened.
Right. Right. Sometimes, yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, let, what if we why don't we wrap with a few ideas or
Okay.
suggestions?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can go back and forth or,
Okay. Sure.
whatever. But
Sure.
so one I heard from what you were saying earlier, is recognize that other people are all under stress. So,
Hmm.
the stress may be what's speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a suggestion you would have?
I'd say one is sometimes the holidays may be the time to fly a little more under the radar. for that reason, because everything else is, is going on. And I know a lot of times, some people can react negatively, especially at the holiday times, to something they might not act otherwise. And they may be like, well, why, just like you always ruining Christmas or wanting this Christmas to be all about you or whatever. So I think sometimes I think flying a
Right.
little lower under the radar is not a bad option at the holiday time.
Okay. Um, I think that another good thing is, and it's related to that, is choosing our battles.
Hmm.
Knowing when to walk away,
Yeah.
knowing when to just politely smile. Um, if there's an antagonist, that all they want is to goad us into some kind of a discussion or debate.
Right.
And
Right.
if we don't let them,
Hmm.
it takes care of itself.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think one thing that I've always found is the sort of like fake it till you make it on being comfortable about who you are, because I think people really can feed off of that sort of energy. Like if you feel like embarrassed to introduce your partner as a boyfriend, or if you feel kind of shy about something, or that sort of makes it seem like, hey, maybe there's something that is wrong, that I should be embarrassed about. Versus if you're just sort of like matter of fact, like, hey, this is the greatest thing in the world. Oh my God, you haven't met my boyfriend. Like, this is so and so. We've been seeing each other for a few months.
Yeah.
Things are going great. We'll see how we get through the holidays, especially this dinner with my crazy family. But he's here for it. I've always felt
Yeah.
like that sort of like just, sort of getting ahead of things sometimes can be helpful. If you sort of act like it's the most natural thing in the world, you don't give people the opportunity to feed off of any negativity that you put out there.
Yeah. A great technique is, if you do have somebody in the family you're out to, um, but others who you aren't, a way, if this works out, is talk to that person so that you have an ally in the room who
Right.
can, they know to step in and say something,
Yeah, that's a
or
great idea.
to say, hey, can you come help me in the kitchen, or
Yeah.
to help extract you from a situation. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a
having an
great,
ally can be a great help.
yeah, great suggestion. I really like that one.
Yeah.
Just if, just say, hey, do you mind? This is going to be uncomfortable. Can you just kind of keep an eye on me if I need rescuing, or maybe jump in and help me? That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple others. Uh, you know, One is be safe.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before in our various issues around coming out or whatever we're doing. Personal, physical, emotional, family, social,
Right.
financial,
Right.
all those different kinds of safety.
Yeah.
And you know, you really have to weigh safety versus what you think might be timing.
And I think
And
my final suggestion on that point, Terry, would be you don't have to stay. If there's ever a situation where you're just
yeah,
not comfortable, that you're not enjoying yourself, that you just feel like you've been backed into the corner, perfectly fine. Leave the situation. Go outside, just
that's right.
completely leave, just do whatever. And if anybody tries to say anything and say, look, I am not welcome here, so I am leaving. And I think that's something
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
is very effective and can really bring about change. Like my parents had said something at one point about, the three of us, and we're uncomfortable, the fact, being around the three of us. I said, okay, well, I won't, then you don't have to be uncomfortable. We just won't be together. Until you guys can get comfortable with it, then, we don't have to see each other. And boy, that really changed dramatically for them. They got comfortable with it, or just swallowed that discomfort pretty quickly, because they knew that I meant what I was saying. So that I think
yeah,
that be my strongest advice. That it's all well and good, but if you're not feeling safe, if you're not feeling comfortable, if you just feel tired of it, just leave, just get out of there. So, what's your final recommendation for us, Terry, as we wrap up this mini holiday episode?
well, um Yes, so taking it out and away from ourselves
Mhm.
and looking at others, because we are not the only one there with an issue. And
Mm,
whether it's
yeah.
sexuality or, orientation, or whether it's
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Right.
There are nephews and nieces, there are siblings, there are all kinds of
Mhm.
people. And somebody's not doing well in school.
Mhm.
Somebody's had a breakup. Somebody's
Yeah.
had, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So making sure that while we're concerned about how we're treated, making sure that we are the ones who just look out for other people and love and
Yeah.
treat them well.
Yeah. Yeah. Mutual liberation. I like that.
Yeah, love
Well, thanks.
begets love.
Well, thanks so much for this great chat today. As always, I enjoy our queer chat with Brian.
And Terry,
All right. And that's a wrap for today. Thanks, Terry.
bye-bye.